Donkey Kong is one of Nintendo's very first franchises and one that is still very recognizable to this day. While in recent years, he has not seen much action other than a Wii U game and frequent appearances in Mario spin-off games, today, we look at Donkey Kong's first outing not developed by Nintendo, Donkey Kong Country. To understand how Donkey Kong Country came to exist, we first have to look at the partnership formed by developer Rare and Nintendo. Previously, Rare had been known for the Battletoads games as well as other various licensed games.
However, during the beginning of the Super Nintendo era, Rare wanted to do things differently and decided to invest in technology and 3D graphics, even though the Super Nintendo couldn't necessarily handle it. To get around this, they would pre-render the 3D models and graphics onto the cartridge. This created a unique graphical look that would lead to Nintendo's interest in the company. After a successful demo of a boxing game in 1993, Nintendo purchased 49% of the company and declared them a second-party developer. After this partnership, Rare founders Tim and Chris Stamper expressed interest in developing their own Donkey Kong game, to which Nintendo allowed. Development was completed over the course of 18 months with a team of around 20 people, the most Rare has ever used up to that point. After their first presentation of the game to Nintendo, Nintendo advised them to lower the difficulty of the game to have a larger appeal. The game in its current state is still very difficult, so it's hard to imagine how difficult was too difficult.
They also took some issue with the character designs. While the redesign of Donkey Kong was fine, the initial designs for Donkey Kong's sidekick were going to be a redesign of Donkey Kong Jr. and not a new character. Nintendo felt that this redesign was too far of a departure from their original design, so they insisted that Rare either make a new character or stick to the old design. This led to the creation of Diddy Kong. After the release, this redesign of Donkey Kong and the design of Diddy Kong would become the new default look for these characters for the entirety of the Donkey Kong franchise. Nintendo even credited Rare for the design in all games it was used in until Rare's acquisition by Microsoft in the early 2000s. While Donkey Kong creator Shigeru Miyamoto wasn't directly involved, he made suggestions here and there, such as Donkey Kong's hand slap move. However, later he was credited as saying that the gameplay of the game was mediocre, a rumor he later discredited by expressing his fondness for the game. Donkey Kong Country was released in November of 1994 and has seen re-releases on the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and the Virtual Console. It eventually sold 8.5 million copies worldwide, making it a bestseller on the SNES.
When booting up the game, we're treated to a cool, yet weird cutscene of Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong that serves little purpose other than to set the tone of the game. The way Donkey Kong's eyes pop out of his head always weirded me out for some reason. Being a platformer in the 90s, the story of this game is nothing too complicated. Underneath Donkey Kong's home, he has all of his bananas stashed in a typical monkey character fashion in what he calls Kong's Banana Hoard. When he realizes that all of his bananas are gone, he sets out on a journey with the help of his fellow Kongs to get them back from an evil gang called the Kremlins, led by a character that looks like Bowser, except a crocodile, King K. Rool. Play on Crow, get it? Each one of Donkey Kong's friends serve a specific gameplay purpose to help Donkey Kong accomplish his goal, which we'll cover later on.
The pre-rendered graphics were a main selling point for this game. Nintendo boasted that the game was running on just a plain old Super Nintendo when Sega had to resort to the Sega CD and 32X to achieve similar experiences. The graphics do look great, and I have absolutely no complaints about them. It helped the game stand out in a time where a lot of other games looked very similar and didn't have a unique style. Rare would again use this exact same graphical style for their next game, Killer Instinct, and in the next generation of consoles, other developers would utilize this graphical style quite frequently. Throughout all of the different aesthetics used in the game, from the jungle to the underwater sections and even the minecart levels, the pre-rendered backgrounds look great and help lend to the atmosphere of the game. The music in this game is absolutely amazing and considered a classic among video game soundtracks. Ranging from upbeat jungle music to chilling ambient tracks, this game knows how to set the tone. The music was done by composer David Wise, who shot up in popularity partly due to this soundtrack. This music created a fitting tone for the game, and together with the graphics, created a very unique experience when compared to other games of the time. The sound effects also help with this tone, whether it be silly sound effects such as bouncing on a tire, or even the uncomfortable clicky chomping noises of the small enemies with large teeth.
I'd like to start off by saying this game is f***ing hard. If this is your first time playing this game, then be prepared to die a lot. Between the game's gotcha moments, where you can't always see the upcoming hazards, or the intense amount of precision required for obstacles, if you go into this thinking it'll be simple and easy,
you're gonna have a bad time.
There are 3 modes in this game: single player, 2-player team, and 2-player contest. Most people will spend all their time in single player, but the other modes are an interesting distraction. Contest is 2 players competing to see who can get through the level the fastest. Team features just that. Player 1 is DK, and player 2 is Diddy. You can tag team throughout your playthrough, and if one player dies, they can be revived just like in single player, with a barrel. Like any platforming game, the goals are simple. Get to the end of the level and collect things while killing enemies and avoiding hazards. The player can gain extra lives by collecting 100 bananas or 4 different letters that spell out Kong. You can also collect special animal tokens that can send you to bonus levels, where you can gain more extra lives. There are also many other hidden shortcuts and bonus levels that you have to find on your own. You have to be very precise in this game, and whether it be jumping or shooting out of barrels, not putting forth the full amount of focus required will get you killed. While this is not a bad thing, especially towards the end of the game, you get into a difficulty level not seen in games like Mario or Sonic. Donkey Kong has a few main methods of attack: jumping, rolling, or a hand slap. You can also throw barrels to hurt certain enemies as well. When throwing or destroying barrels marked DK, you gain Diddy Kong, or Donkey Kong if you're playing as Diddy, which allows you an extra hit by the enemy. We preferred using Diddy because he's faster and jumps further. However, there are some enemies that you can only kill with Donkey Kong.
Each level is populated with various Kremlins to fight, fitting to whatever type of level that it is. We've learned to hate the Hornets, but we didn't have too much trouble with many other enemies. Each world culminates with a boss fight with a bigger version of one of the Kremlins. While the last boss fight is intense, the rest are nothing special or unique, and actually become quite annoying when you just want to get back to the platforming. The game features a few different methods of play. Normal platforming levels, minecart levels where you platform in a minecart that are some of the most difficult levels in the game, and underwater levels which are frustrating because 1, you cannot see what's coming and it becomes very stressful, and 2, water levels in video games are always bad. As you go through levels, you progress through a map in specific worlds just like Super Mario World. Other than levels on the map, you can go meet with Donkey Kong's friends who each serve a specific purpose. Candy Kong allows the player to save. This is obviously the most important and is usually placed well into the world that you're in. Funky Kong allows you to more quickly travel to earlier levels that you have already completed. Cranky Kong gives you tips when you see him in his cabin and also congratulates the Kongs at the end of the game. There are also Donkey Kong's animal buddies that will help you out inside of stages when you can find a crate with their symbol on it. You can ride animals like a rhinoceros, a swordfish, and a frog amongst others. You can go through the game without using any of them, but if you do find them, they provide a helpful boost to counterbalance the difficulty of some parts of the game. They can also help you find additional bonus levels. So after all of the challenges throughout the game, extremely hard levels, lackluster boss fights, you finally reach the final boss, King K. Rool. After a hard battle, avoiding his attacks and cannonballs falling on you, he finally dies and the credits roll.
Just kidding!
The fight's not over yet and he gets back up, leading to a great yet frustrating twist.
Got us pretty good!
But after a few more hits, he finally goes down. After a conversation with Cranky, DK goes back to his cave to find that all of his bananas are back. After some fanfare, the credits roll. We're shown all of the characters and enemies in the game by name before the game is finally over.
If it wasn't for the help of Rare, it's hard to imagine what this game would have looked like. Donkey Kong could have been back on top of a platform throwing barrels at Mario for all we know. This game is a classic. From its visuals to its beautiful music, it's hard not to remember this game fondly. But upon revisiting it, we found that this game is a lot harder than we remember. It's hard to recommend this game to someone who is not a fan of the franchise, because it can become very frustrating and outright annoying at times. As long as you know what you're getting into, this game holds up.
Wow!